Hey, Garland Vance here. I wonder how you are getting ready for this transition out of quarantine and back into normal life. More and more states are beginning to open up businesses and allow people to go back to work. And whether you think that's a good idea or a bad idea, it is the reality. So I've been talking to some futurists recently about what they think is going to happen when things go back to normal. And one of these futurists said something really interesting. They said everyone is going to try to go back to the life that they lived before this pandemic hit. That's our natural tendency, is not to change the way that we lived, but to try to get back to the way that we lived before this pandemic. Which really raises the question, was your life before the pandemic what you wanted it to be? Or can you hit reset on your life because there's something that you would rather do? There's a life that you would rather live. For most people, life before the pandemic was crazy busy. And that's the life that you're going to potentially go back to. You're going to go back to having too many things to do and not enough time on your hands, not getting enough rest every day, to not building relationships with the people who are most important to you. It's going to be so easy to go right back to the hurry, worry, and scurry that consumed your life. And that's why now is the best time for you to consider changing the new normal that you're going to go back to. What if you used this transitionary time to rethink the pace of life that you live at? What if you use this time to figure out how you can uncommit from some of the overwhelming commitments that you had? Don't waste this chance by going back to this old way of life. This life that you complained about, where you said all the time, I've got too much to do and not enough time. Use the remainder of this quarantine to help you go back to a less stressful life where you actually accomplish more. Now, how do you begin to do that? Well, I think the best way is to follow the 5 steps of getting unbusy. Now, you may be saying to yourself that right now you're not terribly busy, but life is going to go back to normal, or you're going to try to go back to normal, and it's going to become overwhelming. So use Getting Unbusy to help you take 5 steps to stress less and accomplish more as you go back in. So what are these 5 steps of getting unbusy? First is you decide. You decide that busyness isn't worth it, that it's killing you physically, mentally, emotionally, relationally. It's diminishing your productivity. It's hurting your team and your entire organization. It's harming your family. So you decide that busyness isn't worth it, and so you're going to change that. Second is you begin to deconstruct. And one of the best things that you can do in this time is begin to deconstruct your unwanted commitments. Before you go back to normal, take a little bit of time and figure out what is it that you want to get rid of before you ever have to start it again. Were there activities that your kids were involved in, or teams that you were involved in at work, or reports that you had to do, or were there church activities, and you're looking at all of that and saying, there's some of those things that I don't want to go back to. So use this time to deconstruct some unwanted commitments. Then you begin to design the life you want to live. What's the pace that you want to live at? And what are the dreams and the priorities that you actually want to pursue? Then you develop it. You put those into practice by developing a mind, the habits, and the calendar that you need to live at the pace you want to live at and still accomplish the dreams and the priorities you want. And finally, you draw others in. You begin to draw in your family, your friends, your coworkers, and you draw them into this unbusy life. Don't go back to the way things were. Don't go back to the chaos that enveloped your entire life. Instead, use this slow transition time to help you uncommit from the unwanted commitments that you have so that you can change your life. Now, one of the best ways that you can begin to do this is by the 30-day Getting Unbusy course. And you can find out more about this at killbusy.com/quarantine. That's killbusy.com/quarantine so that you can stress less and accomplish more by getting unbusy.